I guess we'll say good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank that everyone is here. So we welcome you to this open forum. Want to thank you all for being here today, whether you're joining us in person or turning in virtually via Zoom. My name is Scott Wicker, and I'm honored to serve as your moderator for this open forum session. We are gathered here as part of the selection process for the next permanent president of Kentucky State University. And this is an exciting time for our community as we look forward towards the future of our esteemed institution. We are committed to selecting a leader who will advance our mission, vision, and core values, and your input in this process is critical. Today, we are joined by Dr. Koffi Akakpo. Akakpo, thank you. One of the three finalists for the role of KSU president, Dr. Akakpo, comes to us with a wealth of experience in higher education, currently serving as the president and CEO of the Bluegrass Community and Technical College, BCTC. The purpose of today's forum is to provide an opportunity for all of us to engage with Dr. Akakpo to better understand their vision, the leadership style, and approach to many opportunities and challenges that lie ahead for our institution. We will begin with a brief introduction by the candidate, followed by a question and answering session. We strongly encourage your participation in this discussion. If you're here in person, you may line up at the microphone in the room. For those joining us virtually, please email your question to the presidential search at kysu.edu. We will do our best to call on each person and answer as many questions as we can. In addition, if we have received several questions via email already prior to this forum, which will be incorporated into the discussion. You can still send your questions to this email address, and we'll do our best to address them as time allows in this open forum. We request that you keep your questions concise and respectful. This is an opportunity for constructive dialogue, and we will ensure as many voices as possible are heard. So without further ado, let's begin. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Akakpo, who will provide a brief introduction of himself.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for being here this afternoon to hear from me. As he said earlier, my name is Dr. Koffi Akakpo. I currently serve as president at BCTC, Bluegrass Community and Technical College. I've been there for almost 4.5 years. And prior to Bluegrass, I was at North Central State College down in Ohio, Mansfield, halfway point between Cleveland and Columbus. I've been there from 2011 through 2019, end of 2018. Prior to North Central State College, I was with Ohio Department of Natural Resources from 2007 through 2011. And prior to that, I was at Central State University from 2003 to 2007. And before that, I was at Speedway. I hold a bachelor degree and a master's degree in managerial finance, an MBA in strategic planning and executive management, and a PhD in higher ed administration. I'm here today because I'm interested in the position of KSU president. I believe I have what it takes to take this great institution to the next level because of my diversity of experiences, as well as having worked in every single area of an institution of higher ed. So now I will look forward to all the questions that you have for me. And I hope I will address them to your fullest satisfaction as well.
That was a perfect transition to our questioning period, and I will kick us off with some pre-formed questions as we invite the guests to come up to speak, to provide their questions. So over the past few years, we have had many transitions in senior leadership. If selected as the next president, what transition plan and information do you expect to receive as guidance for establishing a smooth transition for your presidency?
Well, thank you for the question. I cannot pretend as someone coming from outside to have all the answers or know everything. I would rely on people on campus. People on campus have firsthand knowledge of what has been happening. So I'm going to rely on those people. And as I have done before, I look forward to creating a transition team that is going to help me look at everything. Data or facts don't lie. We will look at the data and we will make some sound decision. That's what I have done, even in the worst of situation when I went to North Central States and found the institution in red. We looked at data, the transition team worked with me, and the board gave me 90 days to present on the state of the college. And that's what I did, and that's what I look forward to doing if I get the job, once I arrive here.
Thank you.
Dr. Akakpo, welcome. My name is Anthony Brooks. I'm a 1981 graduate of the greatest university in the world, Kentucky State University. My question, according to the board bylaws, Article 10, Section 10, Section T, to be responsible for raising funds from the federal government, state and local public sources, corporations, private individuals, foundations, and other sources is one of the things that the Board of Regents is asking for the president to do. My question is, what has been your experience in these types of fundraising or partnerships, and what is your plan to raise these funds from these different partners for Kentucky State University?
Thank you. It's a good question. Well, let's start with grants. It's something that I do so well. And when I arrived at Bluegrass, we had one person just doing a half grant writing and half some other things. And I'm one who does not like to have too many cooks in the kitchen. The meal is never good. So I quickly upgraded that position and made the position a full-time at a director level. And also reassigned one faculty member to be a liaison with faculty. Over the past 4.5 years, we brought in over $88 million in grants. And private fund I've been doing with individuals for endowment as well as corporation. But I will give you one example. We broke ground in Lexington for one of our newest buildings. And I worked with the city and the county to raise $2 million from them as part of the construction work. Looking at scholarship, Scott County is one of the example I can give you. I wanted to set up an endowment for dual credits because it has always been my vision to shorten the time to completion for students. So one way of doing that is to make sure we give these kids more opportunities while in high school. So I don't want any student to be turned away because the parent cannot afford the dual credit, because the state pays for 2 classes if you're going for gen eds and paid for 8 if it's a technical area. So long story short, I raised $250,000 from Toyota, $250,000 from the mayor, another $250,000 from the county judge. We are at almost 800,000, and the goal is to seal that deal by June 30th. I hope I answer your question. Thank you.
Hello, how are you doing? My name is Ellis Tarver. I'm the current state specialist for entrepreneurship for Kentucky State University land grant. And my question is directed towards that. What work have you had with an 1890 land grant? And if so, or if not, do you have any plans on really bridging the gap between the university and the land grant institution?
By the way, Central State is a land grant institution as well. So, and you know what we have here? I saw the dean earlier. Has he left? Oh, Dean is gonna be one of my partners when I arrive. You know, that's one of our signature programs. And it is my intent, if I get the job, to expand on the land grant and nature of the institution and make sure we're very successful. Thank you.
So I'll just check around to see if there are any other questions. And again, feel free to come up or pass your questions. I'll go on to the next core question that's preformed. In the Commonwealth, this is a performance model question as it relates to enrollment management. So currently we have seen a considerable decrease in the progression rates at 30, 60, and 90 credit hours, which negatively impact our graduation rates. And so we're also a small institution in the performance funding model. What proven strategies do you have recommended to recruit, retain, progress, and graduate our undergraduate and graduate student populations to enhance our position within the performance funding model?
Well, thank you for the question. Actually, my dissertation is on performance funding. As I told one of the groups earlier, I was one of the 6-member team that wrote the formula for the state of Ohio for community colleges. So I'm aware of that, and I also understand the strategies that you can use to position yourself better. It's metric-based initiative. And for you to be able to draw more resources, you just have to know, you have to be intentional. There are some metrics that are in the formula. Even at Bluegrass, that's what I'm trying to do now by creating a director of a retention position. And this person's job is to look at the metrics instead of us waiting until it's too late to react, to proactively get the metrics so we provide the early intervention that is needed so we can position ourselves better. So there are ways to do it. I wouldn't call it play game, but that's what it comes down to. So you can position yourself better. My previous institution, if you go online, you check, the funding formula went into effect in 2015. We received more than $3 million additional dollars, and year after year, it goes up, it goes up, it goes up, because we knew exactly what needed to be done, and we did a good job with all the metrics. Provided Ohio is a 100% performance funding, so it's a zero-sum game. If you don't do well, somebody else will take your money from you. So now I'm aware of all this, some of the best practices that you need to have in place to position yourself better.
Thank you, thank you. And I'll transition to another question, and again, to the audience, you're more than welcome to come up, or we could pass the additional cards. So 3 years have passed since you were named Kentucky State University president. What does Kentucky State University look like in the eyes of a student, of faculty, staff, alumni, community, and the Kentucky legislature?
Well, we all have some work to do. And I said it with the group earlier. It's gonna take all of us working together. That there's no doubt about it. And as my father used to tell me, when a group of smart people get together in a like-minded way around the same purpose, there is nothing that is too difficult to solve. And it's gonna take all of you in the room, all of you online, and some other key players at this institution to make that happen. When we talk about student 3 years from today, I want students to feel like they truly belong. And when I come, if I'm the lucky one, you'll be hearing this until you get tired of me. Student first. That's what drives me every day. And that's what should drive all of us every day. We have a mission because of student. We have a job because of student. We have a paycheck, some of us employees, because of student. They should be the center of everything that we do. So we all have to work around the same common understanding. And if we do that, our students will truly feel they belong. The legislature, I will be honest with you, the earlier we get out of this, the better it is for us. So we do have that view, I will say today, but we can get to work quickly and change that narrative where they will truly see what we do, because this institution does so many things so well. I was just in one meeting where I heard that 47% of out-of-state students who come to Kentucky State. That's a story that we don't tell enough of. So we do have many great things happening already, but if we turn this around and we get on the message, people will understand the true value of this great institution.
And before we go to the next question, just to follow back up on your answer choice was refocusing for student-focused approach. We have a follow-up. What, as it relates to student-centered approach, what are your recommendation and investment strategies to promote our undergraduate and graduates, the STEM identity, the STEM literacy and STEM education, and really elevating our community partnerships?
Actually, I will be honest. Thank you for the question, by the way. I will be honest with you. We have resources out there to help us do that very same job. I will just give one example. We made some strategic changes to our nursing program at Bluegrass, where not only we now admit students twice a year instead of single admission, we also have added a new site. But what was most exciting is the fact that instead of allowing high school students to come and spend a year or two taking prerequisite courses, we make them take those prerequisite courses at the high school from freshman year as dual credits. So when they come by December of the senior year, they apply to get into the nursing program. By May, they graduate, August, they're in the program. So we make the two-year program truly a two-year program. Why am I saying all this? By doing this, we applied for DOL grant and we got 4.5 million now to expand this to underrepresented minority and low-income students. So there are many ways that ways we can tweak what we do to draw more resources to make this very same thing happen. So thank you for that.
Good afternoon.
Good
Welcome
afternoon.
again. My name is Eric Yan, Director of International Affairs and Global Agricultural Programs. In late 2019, I was invited to visit BCTC to discuss the collaboration of international student transfer collaboration. So I was told that the new president, that's you, was very supportive to international student services. That's part of international education. So I guess my question is, could you please share your vision of international education? And as president, could you please share your strategies to best advocate and support campus and community globalization? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's a good question. It's something that I strongly believe in. I opened, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago, the Center of Global Learning at BCTC. And as we speak, I have 12 students in South Africa, and most of them are minority students doing a study abroad and also learning other culture. And I'm expecting 14 students through State Department coming to Bluegrass this fall to spend one semester with us. And if they love it, they can stay. We're sending the Fulbright scholar to South Africa from BCTC. He's going there for 1 full year doing the research and teaching. Actually, myself, I've been selected as a full presidential Fulbright scholar for in October to go to Paris for 2 weeks. So I believe in global education, and it's something that we have done. This spring, I think we have 56 international students, but we're expecting more, actually 3 coming from South Africa, 14 from State Department from 9 different countries, and many other students who have already received their I-120. So it's something, if I come here, that would be one of my priorities, and we'll work together. Thank you for the question.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir. Welcome again. This is Anthony Brooks again. I have a letter from the interim president, Dr. Johnson, to the state assistant state auditor. And he has a report that has some line items that he has in his response to the audit. I'm just interested in knowing whether or not you've had an opportunity to meet with Dr. Johnson. And as you alluded to earlier, you said too many cooks in the kitchen spoil the meal. We just happen to have a lot of cooks in the kitchen who are making the meal of the future of Kentucky State University. And as far as the government agencies and others, I'm just interested in how much information that you have shared with the interim president and those agencies that are involved, so that when you become president of Kentucky State University, there will be a smooth transition.
Thank you. Good question. Dr. Johnson and I are a good friend. He invited me to come down here and watch a basketball game with him. Him and I have had dinner together, so I know him very well, and we talk about the future of this great institution. Going back to what was published by the state auditor, his response to that, what I will say is, again, it's going to be incumbent upon all of us in this room, even alumni, to get together and turn this situation around pretty quick. The longer it drags on, the more impact it has on enrollments. And the more this negative story will be out there lingering. But the quicker we turn this around, the earlier we will have time to share some of these noble things that are happening at this institution that we don't often talk about. So I look forward to a smooth transition from Dr. Johnson, should I be the one to get the job. Thank you.
Dr. Akakpo, you know I know you. This is Rufus Friday. I'm just for the record here. I'm the former publisher of the Lexington Herald Leader and currently working as the executive director for the Hope Center. And just to stay on that vein for a moment that we were talking about with the legislature, can you talk a little bit about your relationship that you have with the legislators over in Frankfort, knowing that that is somewhat going to be the proverbial 80-pound gorilla that's going to be on Kentucky State University for any incoming president that's going to come in. So can you maybe talk about some of the relationships that you may have or will be forging with the folks in Frankfort, knowing that what they've done in the form of the multi-millions of dollars that they've given Kentucky State University?
Thank you. It's a good one. I'm very fortunate. I've been here only 4.5 years, but I have been very fortunate with the legislature. Just to give you an example to illustrate what I will say is Bluegrass is part of a system. And we made a request for another building on one of our campuses in Lexington for 58 million. And the system did not forward our request to CPE and the governor. But when the House budget came out, our $58 million request was in it, and it was approved by the Senate and the conference. Now we have the $58 million to build a new building on Newtown campus. So it took us working closely with CPE and the legislature. We serve Bluegrass serve 14 county area or 35 legislators. And I was very fortunate to have someone who helped me reaching out to these legislators. And then when I come here, I would just build on that relationship that we currently have to move this great institution forward. So you're only entitled to one question. No, just kidding.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. Ellis Tarver again. My question is, I heard you speak of the retention efforts that you've made at BCTC with the nursing program, how getting scholars to graduate more quickly. My question is more around recruitment. I'm a part of the West Louisville initiative, and being from Louisville, Kentucky, there's a huge gap of recruitment within the state to Kentucky State University. And being that the HBCU culture is growing, what plans do you have to brand and market Kentucky State as the institution to be at?
Thank you, sir. It's a good question. It's again, a job that we all need to do, but I will take the lead on that. And at BCTC, I'm always on the roads talking to superintendent, principals, and guidance counselors. And if I happen to come to KSU, it's not gonna stop. So we all have to take the leads in growing our enrollment. We have so many opportunities. It's not just Eastern Louisville or just Frankfurt. We have opportunity with dual credit that we have not been tapping into. As far as I know, as of last fall, we have Morehead State coming to our area. We have EKU trying to encroach. We have Campbellsville, and we have BCTC working here. So we have opportunity there. We also have an opportunity with our 16 community colleges where we can have more transfer. And I know my friend here is already looking into that. So we have many opportunities to make it work and grow that enrollment pretty quick.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Over the years, not with this particular administration, but previous administrations have been given information and ideas that would make Kentucky State a top university among its peers and just in general in the country. What are some of your ideas, or what's your philosophy as far as making Kentucky State more innovative and progressive? Because we've had opportunities that were given, like say, to a previous president on self-sustainability for the campus so that it can run on its own power. It wasn't taken, but then Berea successfully started a hydro plant. So what are some of your ideas?
Well, what I will say is, every sector in our country has gone through change. And today, higher ed is facing the change. And I can assure you that the 200-year-old model that we have had is not going to serve the 21st century student. We have to embrace innovation. We have to embrace creativity. That doesn't mean we drop everything that we do, but we have to look at how we do things. I am so fortunate to have been in the private sector where that change took place. And I have witnessed how organizations responded to that. And I will give you a quick example. 1999, I recall Kmart being the #1 retailer in the world. 2006, Kmart went down. So we have the opportunity to take a look at ourselves and how we do business, or we will continue struggling. I subscribe to a magazine that sends me updates on the future of higher eds every day. And I can assure you every week that goes by, or some days, in some weeks, every other days, a school in our country is shutting down due to enrollment and financial crisis. So this is our time. Our future is going to depend on how we respond to this change. If you look at Liberty University, 20 years ago, 12,000 students, over 100,000 today. You look at Southern New Hampshire University. When Dr. LeBlanc went there, they were around 12,000 students. Today, they're over 100,000. What has Dr. LeBlanc done differently? He embraced innovation and creativity. So through innovation, he added competency-based education. He added programs that shorten the time to completion for students. As I speak to you right now, in our country, we have 40.4 million people with credit but no credential. That's a market that we can tap into. But don't expect these 40.4 million people to come to Frankfurt. So we have to look at our online presence. What can we do better? And in Kentucky alone, we have 600,000 of those people. Are we marketing to those people? As I mentioned the dual credit earlier, and we also have to get into more partnership, which we have done a lot of at Bluegrass since my arrival. We have to look at all those and see how we partner. In addition, for next year budget at Bluegrass, I set aside $500,000 just to promote innovation and creativity among faculty and staff. You write your project that will support retention and graduation and diversity for underrepresented minority. You'll be funded. So 13 projects were funded for next year because I want to drive that from bottom up. Not me telling them, oh, this is innovative, but no, people came up with ideas that were out of the box ideas, and they will get the funding to implement those. We'll look at sustainability. I'll be honest with you, I've been driving around since yesterday. I came down here 2 weekends ago, looking at campus, our buildings. Many of our windows are, they're old. And that's hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're throwing out the window every year through heating and cooling bills. Those are things that we have to look at. How do we find or raise the fund to take care of these windows? If we don't do it, it's going to affect the bottom line. We have so many other things that we can look at. I don't have all those facts yet, but that's what I do best. That's what my graduate and undergraduate degree were in, to look at how you can gain efficiency, how you can come up with cost avoidance to be able to save your bottom line and have more funding to implement initiative and pay people better. So all this will be on the table. Right now, I don't have all the facts, but I can assure you once I get here, if I'm the one, we will look at all these things and no stone will be left unturned.
Thank you. Thank you for your question and thank you for your answer. Just looking at the time, it's 2:52. I've been given a notice. We have a hard stop at 2:58. So this will probably be the last question. And along the lines of what you're talking about with the innovation and entrepreneurship and the forward thinking and the visionary approach, what is your vision for incorporating access to artificial intelligence technologies into students, faculty, and staff experiences to enhance productivity, efficiency, and effectiveness?
That's a good question. All I can say is, we have to look at everything, how we do business and how we help our faculty, help our staff to do what we do better, because it is now a race, it is a competition. We either perform or we will continue struggling. Just look at throughout the nation. I get these magazines and all the time news all the time. Schools are struggling. The last one I got was West Virginia State University, $75 million hole in their budget. You look at Northern Kentucky University, they went through a last fall. Even the UK has some challenges. So it's here, and it's gonna depend on how we respond and how quickly we respond and how willing we all as a community respond to it.
Once again, sir, thank you for your answer so far. Since we're short on time, I'm gonna hit you with a twofer. The first one is, in the states of Tennessee and Maryland, there were investigations on the historical underfunding of their HBCUs. Well, the state HBCUs, and the results were both states found that they had underfunded HBCUs by hundreds of millions of dollars. Do you have a plan to investigate if Kentucky State has been underfunded historically and how to receive those funds if so? Second question is, for a long time, Kentucky State had reciprocal programs with other institutions around the country. We had a lot of our students who would start their journey here at Kentucky State for 2 or 3 years, then move on somewhere else. And those students, even though they graduated from the other institution, they remained loyal to Kentucky State. We no longer have those, according to some of my sources. Do you have plans in order to reestablish reciprocal programs for Kentucky State students, which of course would also help our enrollment?
Thank you, sir. Let me go to the first question. I will not say today to you that I will go for investigation or not. But what I can tell you is I will significantly enhance the relationship with Frankfurt. I will be the cheerleader of this institution, and I will share more of our story with our elected official who believe, you know, one thing we don't do well of is telling our story. UK does not need to do anything, but working for community college, we face the same thing. We have to learn to tell our story more, but we have to engage people who have power in our states. That's something that I'm willing and prepared to do. We have to engage them, not only just Frankfurt, but CPE. We have to make sure CPE is one of our closest partners. Those I'm willing to do, as well as the private sector. Speaking of partnership, that's what I live and breathe. And I'm gonna tell you, any institution that does not embrace partnership, that institution has no future. We have to partner, and partner. Not only with our K-12 system, our 4-year partners, our 2-year partners, but our business community and the community as a whole. So it's something that I understand very well, and I have done, and I know the power that is behind it if you do it right. Any other question? I think my time is up. I have 1 minute.
Thank you, thank you. So please join me in thanking Dr. Akakpo for joining us this afternoon here at Kentucky State University. We also would like to take the time to thank the 53 people on Zoom And we do apologize to the virtual world for roughly 40 questions that we didn't get a chance to get to. And this video will be uploaded to the Presidential Search website later this week. We will have a short break to activate prior to the upcoming meeting by the Board of Regents. The Zoom link can be found at www.kysu.edu/presidential search. And thank you again for attending and participating in this open forum.